Hi guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'm Beka Haze, and this is Makeup with Your Mental Health, where I'm a normal person that talks to you like a normal person. Today we're going to be talking about analogies and why they're important for people that don't have mental health issues, but they want to be supportive of those family and friends that do. And I'm also going to show you how I achieved this look with an easy step-to-step guide. So, let's begin. So to begin, we're going to start with primer, and for the rest of the product listings, I'm going to list them in the description box down below. Now to begin, I want to explain why I want to talk about analogies. Honestly, for one, analogies help a lot of family members and loved ones understand what it means to have a mental health issue. And today, we're going to start off with the spoon theory. Now, this theory was originally co-opted in the chronic health community from invisible illnesses such as Crohn's disease, IBS, endometriosis, and so on. The spoon theory is the idea that you have a certain amount of spoons in a day, and those spoons are used as like a currency every time that you do an activity. So if we're talking about making a meal or having a shower or taking your kid to school, that uses a spoon for each activity that you do. Now remember, you only have a certain set amount of spoons every single day. And for a normal healthy person, whether they are physically healthy or mentally healthy, they have enough spoons every single day to be able to do every single activity, like working, showering, and cooking a wholesome, balanced meal. But for somebody that has a chronic disability, whether that is a physical one or a mental health one, or even both, then you're not going to be able to do much. You're not going to be able to do every single thing that you want in a day, but you're able to do what you can. So if you have a mental health issue, you might be able to have a shower and order some delivery, and at best maybe be able to help your child with some homework, and that'll be about it. Now the idea also includes taking spoons from another day, but eventually you're going to run out of spoons. Now I also like to think that before I started medication, I had no spoons for about, let's say, 2 years now. But with my medication, I'm able to have plastic spoons, man-made, manufactured spoons. And because I'm able to at least have plastic spoons, I have enough currency to be able to do the kind of activities I need to be able to do, both as a human and as a mom. So now that I've finished putting on my foundation, I'm gonna buff it out with a damp, squeezy, non-brand name beauty blender. And I will admit, this is a lot more difficult for me because I am not wearing my glasses and I do not own contacts. So I am kind of doing a lot of this pretty blind. But that's okay, because I kind of know what I'm doing. Now you just want to blend it out, buff it out, to make it look like all one single flat canvas. You go in, especially in the hidden spots, like in the corners of your eyes, underneath your eyes, up into your hairline, especially if you're a very short-haired girl like myself, and in between the nose, in the chin, and underneath. A lot of you might not think that these are important spots, but we're making a big blank canvas. So when I'm done with that, I'm gonna take my concealer, which is brand new for me. It is E.L.F. Hydrating Camo Concealer in a satin finish. What I like to do is just go underneath the eye. Ooh, I like this color already. And bring it out. because it's concealing our eye bags, and Lord knows I have too much. Now you don't have to do the rest, but I like to, just to be able to really have a bright and highlighted face. We're gonna make a triangle on our forehead, because we're also gonna be doing like a rough concealer with bronzer. And I'm also gonna take it along my jawline to be able to make a fake jawline. On the chin, around the mouth in my problem areas because I've been breaking out like mad, and up the nose. Now these are the parts of your face that you want to be able to highlight and bring out a brightness. Some of you might be wondering why I chose Analogies today. And that's because I have a lot of family members and friends in my life that don't really have much for mental health issues. I also have a lot of family members and friends that do. So trying to explain my own mental health issues has been very helpful by using Analogies. And with using the off-brand beauty blender, I'm just gonna buff out the concealer into the foundation, so it's able to bring that natural, normal looking glow. Now this palette I've had for a billion years, and I don't recommend using expired makeup, but it's all that I have at the moment, and that's okay because we're all about accessibility here. Now I like to mix and blend different colors, and you always want to tap it off. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna begin down up in here near my eye and bring it down just under my cheekbone, okay? You wanna use soft circular motions, but keep it tight. I hope I'm not shaking my camera. And just like that. Now it kind of looks like blush right now on camera, and that's okay. I want to be able to take this approach very Bob Ross style, so it's not so daunting for beginners, and so it's not so scary for those that want to try makeup. Now the rest of the time we're going to go up and around our forehead, up and around, kind of like a big C, right? So I usually start up in my hairline and begin in my widow's peak. Now this might be different for anybody that has a different type of hairline, but I have a bit of a widow's peak, and my great grandpa always said that a big forehead meant a lot of brains. And I'm gonna take that advice, take it to the bank, put it in my pocket, save it for later. Now a different analogy that I'd like to talk about today is drowning in 2 feet of water versus 7 feet of water. Now what does that mean? That a lot of people have different types of mental health issues. One person might have depression, just generalized depression. One person might have GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. Another person might have borderline personality disorder, PTSD, OCD, schizophrenia, schizoactive disorder. There are so many different mental health issues that we have going on in our world today. And it's not fair to compare one issue to another. And this is also the same in any regard of life, because when you break it down, drowning in 2 feet of water or drowning in 7 feet of water, either way, you're still drowning. And to mean that you're drowning means that you're having problems, you're having a difficulty, and you need to be able to be saved. Now, people's versions of being saved can mean therapy, it can mean medication, it can mean support through their loved ones. But either way, you need a life ring when you're drowning. Now, I'm also taking it into the sides of my nose to bring a soft type of normal, natural type of contour. Because for myself, I'm not really big on my nose because it's too big to me, and that's okay. It's normal to have issues with your self-esteem. And I've had many, many years of having issues with my self-esteem. I'm 26 years old and I'm just learning to love myself right now. So there's many different ways to do this. Next, we're going to be taking in our loose setting powder, and some people use a damp beauty blender, some people use a dry beauty blender, some people use a brush like myself. Now I'm going to take a fluffy angled brush, just generously dip it into my powder and tap off a bit of the excess and stamp it right in to where we put the contour highlight. Now it's going to make a mess, just fair warning. If you're going to use a loose setting powder, it shouldn't make a mess with pressed powder, but I don't really typically use pressed powder. I haven't had much experience with it, but if that's what you need to do, then that's what you're gonna do. So it's not too harsh in the baking process. That's what it's called, what we're doing right now. This is a baking process. We're gonna be bakersmen, pack it with a B, put it in the oven for my YouTubers and me. You want to be relaxed when you're doing makeup. It's a fun process. For me, it's just the same as having a hobby and doing art. It's not always about having a beautiful finished product. Sometimes it's just for the fun of it. And that's what I love about it. You're going to want to let that bake for a little bit, because then it's going to bring the highlight of the contour out and it'll make your face a lot softer and more natural. So while we wait for that to start, how about I start talking about our cup overflowing. Now, what does that mean? Think about your mental health as a cup. You don't even have to do your mental health as a cup. You can just do you as a cup. Now, typically in any normal cup, we have a certain amount that is our general, normal average. And it'll be, say, about 3/4 of the way, right? And that's your normal day-to-day stressors, like traffic and getting the kids' homework done and what am I gonna have for dinner. Those are normal to have. Now, when you have a mental health issue, whether that be depression, anxiety, or a legitimate diagnosis, then that's throwing a lot more things into your cup. You're gonna start overflowing when it's more stressors, whether that is self-esteem issues, whether that's worries about your medication, your dopamine depleting, your serotonin depleting, traumas from when you were a child, traumas from when you were a young adult. These are things that are going to make your cup overflow and you're not going to be able to function because your cup is going overboard and you're not going to be able to be a functioning human society member. And that's okay too, because there's always ways to bring everything back into your cup when you remove those stressors that you do have that are overflowing your cup. So if you have a stressor such as self-esteem issues, then you talk to a therapist about your self-confidence. If you have an issue such as a stressor of your traffic that you take on your daily commute, then you find a new route, or you find anything that's a lot more applicable to you, whether that's taking the bus, taking the train, finding a carpool, something that'll ease your stressors and bring the water back into your cup. So usually I bake a little bit longer than this, and this has only been about 2 minutes for me. I usually go for about 5 minutes, but because it is a YouTube video, I want to speed it along a little bit. So we're going to swipe it off gently with a different cleaner brush. I use 2 different brushes when it comes to my powder. I'm going to gently sweep it off and bring it into the rest of the foundation and base. Next, we're going to start finally on the eyes. Today we're going to be doing, I think, a brownie smoky eye, which is what I feel very comfortable doing because that is my comfort zone, something easy that I've been doing for many, many years. And I typically use about 3 to 4 brushes. Now, I am not a super YouTuber, so I'm not going to be able to tell you what I typically use for what kind of brushes, but I try to veer mostly to tight, fluffy brushes that are small, similar to this guy. Now I have a mix of Morphe brushes from the James Charles palette and also something that I bought off of Amazon. So first, we're gonna take a neutral in-between color. I'm thinking something soft like this guy right here. And this is the mini palette of James Charles. And you want to tap off that excess. And you're going to start at the top of your crease and gently tap and blend at the same time. And bring it down into your lash line to kind of make like a top line C that's kind of diagonal on its side. And then you're going to blend it out with that same brush in gentle, slow blending. Now looking here now, it's not that browny, but I do like the color of it. Next, you're going to take another brush, and my apologies, I still haven't cleaned these from Halloween, but I promise my next video, they will be clean. Next, we're going to take this very pretty dark reddish brown. We're going to darken up this same C, but a little bit lower down. More so in your crease. And again, around that C. And you're going to want to bring it in closer to your nose bridge. Tap, tap, tappity, tap, tap, tap. You're trying to make a transition, an ombre, to make it seem all one blending out. You're going to blend it into the lighter color to be able to achieve that. Next, I'm going to take my third brush, which has been massacred from Halloween. And I think I'm going to go into this pinky rose gold. Even though I've been using this brush for darker colors, let's see what's going to happen. I'm okay with anything that's going to happen. We're going to tap it into the middle. Tap and sweep. Very lightly. You don't want to go jagging into your eyeball. Tap and sweep, and especially into the corner, like so. Tap and sweep. And it's a very shimmery type of glitter, which I always like to do on my lid. And you're gonna bring it, sweep it into the outer corner of your eye. You're gonna have a lot of fallout. I don't know if you're able to see, but I have a lot of fallout right here. Right now, I'm not the happiest with it. So what I'm gonna do is take that second same brush and find another dark color to go into my crease. And I'm gonna go with this dark brown right here beside the black. I'm gonna take it into the crease to darken it up a bit. Yeah, that's dark, okay. Okay. And take that first same brush that we started off with and go right back into that color that you began the transition with. Oh my, okay. I wasn't expecting any of this to happen, but I'm not mad at it. This mistake can be rectified. We're gonna go into the bottom corner of your eye, but not all the way to your nose bridge. And just give yourself a gap under your brow bone. And what I typically like to do is to bring the nicest highlight and lightest highlight that you have to bring it all into a transition around your eyeball. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my finger and place it first in my tear duct, like so. Use another clean finger to wipe out any excess. And then I'm gonna sweep it across my eye and use that same finger to try to blend it into that transition. And if you need to, take another brush to clean it up. Again, another Halloween massacred brush. And just try to clean it up. Make it all one happy transition. I think I can live with that. Next, we're gonna start with eyeliner. So because I'm not typically used to this method of doing my eye makeup, I'm gonna go very gentle on myself with any mistakes that I have, as I'm having a learning curve and you're gonna be seeing my learning curve as my viewers. Now, I typically use a liquid eyeliner, but that's not very forgiving if you can't see like me. So I'm gonna be using Wet n Wild black eyeliner in a pencil, because it's a lot kinder to me. And I'm not gonna be doing my typical wing. So what you're gonna do, I like to start off about a third or a quarter into the eye to sweep it out in very gentle, light touches. And you wanna be very light. You wanna get it as tight as you can to your lashes. And I like to brighten up my eye, open it all the way up to bring it into the waterline to make it very tight and concise. Now, once you're happy with what you're seeing in your eye for what you have going for your eyeliner, next I like to start off your tear duct. That's what it's called. And I bring my eyes up, kind of tilt my head back, and bring it in close underneath the skin of my tear duct. Oh, got something in my eye. And any mistakes can always be rectified with lashes. That's what I like to believe, at least. Now, for the other eye, I'm gonna do off camera, and same with my eyebrows, because that takes a lot more precision on my end. So I'll be right back. And there you have it. Now, I want to explain why I didn't want to do my eyebrows on camera. And that's because a lot of people do different types of eyebrows, have different methods, and I'm not going to dictate how you're going to do them. For me, I take a simple brow pencil, something similar to this in brown. And as you can see, it's very small because I've been using it for many years. And then I also take a brown eyeshadow to the same color and just fill in the rest. I take that brow and I pretty much stencil in what I want for a shape. And I take the eyeshadow to buff in the same pencil line and also the same color to fill them in. And then I gently and very softly fill in the inner corners of my eyebrows. And here we are. I'm not very happy with how I did my eyeliner on this side, but I can live with it. So next we're gonna take our mascara, and I'm very excited to use this. It's also E.L.F. Volumizing Mascara in black. I haven't used it yet. I just got it yesterday. We're gonna do our top lashes and our bottom lashes. What I like to do is start from the closest you can get to your bottom and go up and out at first. And then what you're gonna do is shake it through using your head or your hand or both to really make sure that all the lashes are covered. Now I'm seeing this isn't doing a lot of coverage, and I'm going to blame that on the type of wand. It's a very fluffy wand, and I usually like using the very open-spaced plastic type of wands, even though that is not good for the environment. All these plastics aren't. Hope you enjoy my silly faces, because I sure am. We're also going to do the bottom lashes as well right now. And while those dry, we're going to start doing our blush. Now take whatever fluffy blush brush that you have, and I'm going to go into the same palette that I used with my bronzer. And I'm going to mix both the dark and light blush that I have. I like that color the best, and you are able to use whatever blush product that you have. And we're going to start at the top of our apple cheek, and we're going to go in soft circular motions and blend that out. And I like to square my mouth away from that same cheek to make sure that it has better coverage like this. And you're gonna bring it up into your temple as well. Not totally into the temple, but you're gonna take it similar into that same area. A little much for my taste, but that's YouTube for you. And same thing on the next cheek. Now, getting back to analogies, what does it mean to care for somebody that you love and try to do your best to understand what they're going through? Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can support somebody that has a mental illness, especially if you don't understand what it means to have a mental illness. What could that entail? It's definitely about learning and educating yourself as much as you're able to on that person that you love's diagnosis. And maybe not even their diagnosis. It could be about their symptoms as well, and talking about their symptoms and what it means to them to be able to have support, because there's so much you can only do online, and the most you can do to help the person that you love is to talk to them, find out what it means for them to be able to have help. Sometimes that means giving them space. Sometimes that means checking up on them every single day. But more often than not, it's mostly talking to them. Now, today we're going to be doing one of the Tarte liquid lipsticks, and this one is in Delish. I like this one because it's a very rose nude. It's one of my favorite lipsticks. My lips are also very dry and chapped, which I wouldn't recommend using a liquid lipstick with the state of your lips because it's going to be very flaky and chunky, but I still love this color too much to not use it. And I always start with my bottom lip first. I'm going to try to show you my method, but again, I'm blind. There's your bottom lip. And there we are. Now, the thing I like the most about liquid lipstick is that you don't necessarily need to use a lip liner, and you're more than welcome to use a lip liner, but I myself don't have any at this moment. Next, we're gonna do lashes. So when it comes to lashes, you're gonna put on your lash glue and put it all across the band of the eyelash, and you're gonna wanna wait for it to get tacky, just like me. And once you feel like it's tacky enough, you're gonna place it as close as you can to your lash line. And for if you have a wide set type of eye like I do, where they seem further apart, you're gonna want the eyelashes to go as close as you can to be able to still look natural to your tear duct. That'll help bring your eyes closer into your face. Just pop them on. I like to do is take some eyelash tweezers specifically, bring it closer in to set them on. Now it's gonna feel weird. It's not gonna feel comfortable, just fair warning, and you don't have to use lashes. I do like to use lashes myself. So they're not on perfect, but they're gonna do the good job for right now. The second one, and be right back. And there you have it. We have our second lash. And I'll always list all of my products that I use down below in the description box, but I'm not the best at remembering their names. These lashes that I got, I did get them off of Amazon, and I don't think they're a name brand name. I apologize, but I do happen to like how big and lifting that they are. And finally, all that we have left to do is the spray. And here we go. So you want to cover your entire face, and you can always go extra with a setting spray. And you let that dry. Now, why you want to use setting spray is that it's hydrating your skin, and it's going to keep your look on further on into the day, just like priming will. And there you have it, our full look. Now, I want to be able to talk to you about what we learned today. We learned a few makeup tips, at least the way that I do my makeup. I hope that you learned something as well in whatever I had to show you. But we also talked about mental health, and this is something that I'm going to be talking about a lot more often on my YouTube channel. I'm not always going to be as descriptive with my tutorials. Sometimes I might do full tutorials just on their own, standalone, without the mental health talk for those that don't really appreciate it, but I will do more in-depth mental health talk because that's what my passion is, and that's why I want you to feel welcome on my YouTube channel. Thanks for everything today, guys. Love you. Goodbye.